There are very few times when news breaks in this industry where I'm kind of speechless.
It's crazy. Yep, it's dead. It's actually dead. Isn't that crazy?
You get to witness the biggest failure in gaming.
Concord has shut down. Now, Concord has been an interesting project from beginning to end. It is a hero shooter in a sea of other hero shooters. It is not free to play. And what happened is when this game came out, the reception was so vehemently against it that now Sony has shut down the entire project. Concord fans, we've been listening closely to your feedback since the launch of Concord on PS5 and PC. I want to thank everyone who has joined us on this journey aboard the North Star. Your support and the passionate community that has grown around the game has meant the world to us. However, while many qualities of the experience resonated with players, we also recognize that other aspects of the game and our initial launch did not land the way we'd intended. I would say that is arguably one of the understatements of the year. However, what they are doing is basically shutting the entire thing down. And the reason they are doing that is because, again, the players have spoken. The numbers for this have been horrible. And honestly, it's been interesting because this has been kind of a test on what happens when the kind of old school AAA generation machine catches up with the fact that it's kind of in the past in a lot of ways. That system doesn't really work anymore. Game dev and game dev fans, gamers, are far more agile. They're more nuanced than these kind of, in many ways, heavy attempts at just blatantly monetizing what is popular. In this case, the genre, 5v5 hero shooter, already incredibly saturated. For them to bring a game like this and not have something to offer that is really new and interesting is already a huge problem.
This is sort of like the perfect example of our industry chasing trends and realizing how long it takes to chase a trend.
Totally.
For example, it'd be the equivalent of like 3 years from now, Sony comes out with an absolutely massive AAA game that is effectively a larger scale Among Us. And since then, a new Amogus has happened and it's totally different and everyone loves it way more. But now Sony has their Amogus that is from 2021.
That by itself is a huge problem. Throw on top of that this gigantic cast of impressively forgettable characters.
Hey, Star Talk. Try it with hot sauce. You'll like it. Trust me.
No. Do not trust him.
No.
So close to being something interesting, but never quite there. And then on top of all this, there's been controversy in public. There have been multiple attacks from different angles that have kind of not been answered. It's been a giant mess. And all of these have led to this being potentially one of the larger flops that gaming has had when you factor in the amount of money and time that has gone into this and the sheer speed at which it all fell apart.
Did they not see this fucking train coming? Like to have this massive failure? Like
no,
this
didn't.
is ridiculous. Like
So,
how much they put into it and how short it lasted. Like, but why?
It really feels in a lot of ways like the people that were involved in the decision-making parts of this game were not people that really fundamentally played games. And I'm talking about the top-end designer folks. It seems like there is so much here that has been done so many times before, and there's so little that really is new to this genre and interesting. There seems to be a total failure in terms of what they thought would be popular and sell and what is actually popular and sells. I mean, to bring a product like this into this environment without any real new things and then put a price tag on entry to even attempt to sell the player on why your game is better than the free-to-play options. It's just, there's so many things here that don't add up. There's so many things here that could have been avoided. It just really comes down to a fundamental lack of understanding at how this industry operates.
They're all so close to dead.
Yeah.
By the way, I like what Harb said in my chat here. Concord is a game everyone already played before it was out.
Totally.
And I think that that's a perfect way to say it.
Yeah.
And that's what I keep going back to. It seems like a lot of the people that kind of pushed this game along were people that didn't really play games themselves. They kind of thought they knew what worked. They're not gamers. They don't play video games.
I don't know.
They're working at the company to make money, and they're working at the company to have successes. And all of the information they gain is from pulling it from charts and data points and focus groups. And this is stuff that happens over months and years. But I mean, this stuff changes in minutes and seconds when you're talking about social media, when you're talking about how popular Power World and Helldivers 2 get in a week. Like this is moving faster than these companies are agile enough to keep up with. They made Concord for a game development community. It's 5 years old. Like, that's how far behind all of their mechanisms, all their machinery, all of the stuff they've been using traditionally to crank out these hits. Yep. All of that machinery is outdated now. But the problem is it's still running. So we see these machines crank something out like Concord. Y'all seen that movie of like the ancient, the wars going on in the future, and all humans are dead and the planes are like just flying skeletons around because AI are still bombing cities? That's what Sony is. Obviously, how could this have been avoided? Much, much more care. Much more connection to the people who are actually going to be using the product, and far more disconnection from what has worked and what in their minds just needs to be repeated to work again. Because frankly, these days, when you're sitting in a sea of one-off successes like Power World and even Helldivers when it first came out, you'll notice that these products are bringing interesting new things to gaming. They are not just rehashes of what we've seen before. So to then bring one of these into the gaming space, to then charge a price when it isn't normally there with your competitors, and then attempt to kind of take over a portion of that pie, so to speak. There are so many reasons why when you say that out loud, many people should stand up and say, no, there are lots of reasons what you just said will not work. That is not a sound business plan. That is not a good idea. But the thing is it's kind of like, if you're expecting the people that actually decided that this game got made, the people that put the green checkmark stamp on Concord, if you think they're ever going to get fired, the answer is they're never going to get fired.
Yeah.
But if you really want to look carefully, look for the people that are retiring.
Yes.
And hopefully Concord,
that
Concord forced some retiring.
that already happened to good old Jim. You know, his initiative. This game is his initiative. He talked about it before it was out, like a few months ago, before he pieced out from Sony. Like, he's got a few other games that are just like this one that we saw at State of Play. Like, no, thanks, Jim. Like, this is your giant initiative for the PS4 to PS5 era of, like, you know, games as a service.
Yeah, we're gonna have 16 games as a service
development.
Yeah.
Is Concord a bad game? No. Weirdly enough, it's not. And if you were to take it just for what it is and not compare it to anything else, it is actually super well made. The levels look good. It ran well in the time that I played it. All the voice lines were well acted that were there. The gunplay was decent. Everything about it screamed like it's a pretty decent game. Again, the fundamental issues being the type of game it was, the design, and pretty much everything else outside of the technical and mechanical aspects of it were just a flop. So anyway, Concord, a bit of a mess. And now, unfortunately, it seems or fortunately, a closed chapter in the history of our game dev adventure here. One thing I do want to make sure that is mentioned as we kind of wrap up this section on Concord, I did do some sponsored streaming for Concord. The things that I always stick to when I'm doing sponsorships or taking sponsorships is it is always a game or product that I want to try or I know already that I like. In Concord's case, I wanted to try it. I saw this was a hugely funded project and it was another 5v5 hero shooter. I thought to myself, there's absolutely no way that they would put this much time and effort into just another one of these. Sure, I'll try it out. Let's see what they got. Well, anyway, that's what I will continue to do. Take sponsorships of games that I want to try or I already know that I like. And it just, you know what? Unfortunately, doesn't always work out that I play them long term. this is one of those cases. So full transparency, I was sponsored to play this game. However, as you can see, we still fully explain and talk about how we feel about these things, regardless of that. So just wanted to let you know.